Hello, dear humans. Today I want to, and I feel kind of compelled actually, compelled like in that sweet way sometimes where it's spirit doing it instead of should or got to or must. It's sweeter, but it's still very powerful. And so here I am. The subject is about our direct relationship with the divine. And of course, for the last 15 years, whenever we use the word divine, we also add half a dozen other names: source, God, universal is, the I am that I am. Because humans are evolving. And we recognize that the word God has caused a lot of pain at minimum. But deeper than that, it actually prevents us from having a relationship with the divine. I I have gone all over the place in what to call the it that is. And it is interesting how different years, one word feels better than another. But language is important. I mean, it's extremely important. If we have been taught in Sunday school that the word God is associated with vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and it's associated with judgment, and it's associated with weird behavior, then to have a relationship with that name associated with that personality is not going to behoove the journey of bliss and harmony and peace and love. So it is important, and the human collective is doing that. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to find a way to disassociate ourselves from the meaning that has been placed on God, and taught about this person, thing, entity called God. So it's important for each of us to find our own name, frankly, and allow ourselves to change it if something else comes up and something else feels better. It feels more aligned with being able to communicate and being able to reach and being able to have a direct experience with this thing that is. So that would be probably the first thing I want to say about what it means to have a relationship is, it might be necessary for God, the divine source, the universal is, to go nameless. I've tried that. It actually worked for a little while, and I may swing back toward that. We're after expansion. We're after an expanded viewpoint. And we're after the viewpoint that this loving force, this intelligence, wants for us uniquely to experience. So to have a direct experience with something that is not often forthcoming, to trust it, to trust that it cares. I'm going to call it for now. To trust that there is a loving force that is working in my behalf. To trust that there's an intelligence that knows exactly what I need and when I need it and how I'm going to get it. Requires time and energy and openness and willingness. Now, why would I even do that? It's because we're wired to do that. Anthropology will tell us, and I've said a couple times on different places, that we're wired for that. We're wired for connection. We're wired for that experience of feeling and know that we're seen and know that we're known. And I remember hearing Deepak Chopra say that and I can't remember what he was calling God at the time, but I remember, I'll never forget him saying that this life force of love and intelligence wants us to have a relationship with it. And why? Why? Because from what I can see and what I've experienced, having a relationship with that loving intelligence makes my life so much better. And we can say that religion is the elixir of the masses. We can say that, but we're not talking about religion here. It has nothing to do with religion. Nothing. Not anything. It has nothing to do with religion. It has something to do with knowing and trusting. Oh, hell, just knowing. Just knowing that there is a force of love and intelligence that knows me, sees me, and wants to interact with me, wants to provide information to me, wants to see me happy, but most importantly, wants to see my soul evolve. And why? Why the soul evolving? Because each lifetime I live that my soul has expanded into my highest self, my life gets a whole lot better, and the lives that I influence get a whole lot better. When I'm tapped into love and I'm tapped into that loving intelligence, other people benefit from that. They benefit from the wisdom that comes forth. They benefit from the love that comes forth. They benefit from the hope that comes forth. And all I'm doing is living the experience of being tapped into the divine. There's a lot of healing that has to come about in the human collective around this issue of having a direct relationship, a direct experience with the force of energy that keeps the planets in place. And so be it. You know, religion has offered a lot of contrast, a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. It's also offered a lot of goodness. It's fed a lot of starving children. It's done a lot of mean things, and it's done a lot of beautiful things. And so I accept that. I accept that that's what's happened. And I use my experience with it, my contrast with it. And as a lesbian, I've had a little bit. I am going to use that contrast to move into a deeper place of what's real. I will discard religion's God, and I will find my own God and have my own direct experience with it. And I know I'm having a direct experience with it because I experience the love from it. There's nothing that can mirror that or fake that. There's nothing that can fake that kind of love. The world's tried, and it can't. The world cannot give us that love. It can give us lots of pleasure. It can give us a lot of tantalizations. It can give us a lot of shiny trinkets, as I keep saying. But it cannot duplicate that love. So the healing that has to happen is happening. It is happening. But I don't see enough out there about having a direct experience unless it's in a religious realm. I see a lot of conversation around spiritual communities, but that seems to include, excuse me, near-death experiences and buying crystals and, that sort of thing. And they're great. I mean, it's been amazing. And there's a piece missing here. And so that's, I think, why I felt compelled today. And I'm probably going to do this some more because, as a spiritual counselor and as a medium, I see a lot of pain in people who don't have a direct connection. They're not aware of the direct connection that they have. The connection is there. They can't do anything about that, but they can certainly not be aware of it. And so that's painful. And it creates suffering because if you don't have that, then everything that you're getting is from the world. And compared to feeling that absolute acceptance from this amazing power. And let me talk a moment about that power. I have come against, not against it, but up against. I have felt myself retreat from that love, because it is so powerful. It is so powerful. And I realized after the first couple of bumping up against that love and retreating, retracting, or constricting or contracting myself away from it, after I noticed that a couple times, I realized that of course I would, because I hadn't built the capacity to be in that kind of presence. And the only way to build that capacity is to sit with it and to keep trusting that inching along, that I will be able to absolutely sit in that power while in the physical form. You hear a lot of near-death experiences of people that have passed and bumped up against that love. And because they're in the spirit at that moment, they're able to just glow in it and just be in it and accept it and not retract from it. But being in the physical and not having the body completely aligned with spirit, there's going to be fear because of that power, that immense power. The other aspect is the surrender that I am practicing enables my body to surrender, meaning I'm surrendering to that love, that power, that being seen, that being known, inch by inch. And the surrender the surrender actually creates more of my capacity. So surrender is an ongoing choice. It's an ongoing intention. We will look back on history and we will see religion for what it was. It was needed. And then when it started being taken apart and being seen for what it has become, a man-made organization with a little bit of spirit in it, we are going to still hold on to that religion for a while, but we will look back and we will see that we held on to it for a little longer than we need to, just like what humans do. I tell my clients, and I don't know why this is, but every single time I think about humans' resistance to move toward what we're supposed to be moving toward, because we're terrified, and well, it's that we're terrified. I just remembered the bumper sticker, maybe it was in the 70s or 80s, usually in the back of an old truck, and it had a picture of a gun with a hand around it, and it says something like, "You'll get my gun when you pry my cold dead fingers off of it." Well, that's kind of how humans are around letting go of the things that we've latched onto as security and safety blankets, our blinkies. So it is what it is. But all the while, all the while now, the undercurrent of the human collective is the spiritual taking shape and rebuilding a foundation that's based on spirit and not religion. And it is very disorganized because it's based on individuals. We're being trusted as individuals to have a direct communication and a direct relationship. And that direct relationship is creating a larger capacity for love. And it's creating a larger capacity for being able to process the information and the wisdom that is being given to us. And so it's not organized except in the unseen. And it's very organized there. It is absolutely taking shape. Some people call it the web. And we know each other, and we are pulled toward one another. And, you know, there's still an impulse to start a center or start a church. And that seems to not play out a whole bunch. I know in my own life I have felt that impulse and haven't felt God behind it, not hardly even a little bit. I moved in that direction because I thought that was the next possible step in my spiritual journey. And I've seen a number of people want to move in that direction and not go anywhere because we're not supposed to organize it. As soon as humans organize something, we're in trouble. At this stage of our human evolution, because there's still too much false self involved. It's too easy to get pulled away from the initial reason for it. And so I believe Source is keeping that under wraps. But what's not being kept under wraps is this continuing impulse to heal the wounded mind, to know ourselves, to understand ourselves, to experience love in a way that we never even thought possible. There was a conversation going on in my Facebook group called Spirit Humans, if you're interested. Somebody posted about about being single, and that the person who was being quoted said that 90% of the relationships were trauma bonds, and didn't offer any proof of that, but it was stated, and there were a lot of people who agreed to it. And I sat with it, and I don't agree with it. But what I do agree with is this, that I would say 90% of us have not been loved enough. And I'm not bashing parents. They did what they could do. But we weren't loved enough. Love sees us, understands us, doesn't try to control us, doesn't use the cultural discipline in order to, instruct us on how to be children. So a lot of pain has been dashed down by loving parents that weren't tapped into their own wisdom and weren't tapped into the big love that is there. They were tapped into human love. And they did the best they could. But you and I are moving in a time where that love the minimal love that we got, is going to be magnified millions of times because we are evolving. And there's been so much, for many years, humans have just tried to survive, and it doesn't leave a lot of room for love to be expressed. You go to the coal mine, you go to your manufacturing job, you go to your office job, and then you come home and these kids are looking at you like, I've got something I need to tell you, and I need you to see me, and I need you to understand me. And you're not going to have it in you to do for more than a few minutes. You're going to do the best you can do. So bottom line, we just haven't been loved enough. We just haven't been. And they weren't loved enough, and their parents weren't loved enough. There's been a constricted love passed down generation after generation. And if we don't admit that, then I don't see how we can move toward real love. We have to be honest about some things, especially after you start tasting what real love is. Real love, it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what you haven't done. It doesn't matter what you've thought about. It doesn't matter how bad you think you are. It doesn't matter how bad other people have thought you were. It doesn't matter. The secrets that you carry doesn't matter. Love blasts right through that. That's what love does. And the more of us can experience that, the more healers will come forward. The more surrender will happen. The more hearts that will heal. The more children being born will be loved. Loved in a way that previous generations weren't loved. And people talk about love being rather a simple approach, but I have yet to see one that works any better. Yet, I have yet to see it. So, for years now, we've been talking about self-love as nauseum. But gosh, I think it's making a difference. I do. I think it's making a huge difference. I see it. I see it in the people that I work with. All the resistance to self-love, when it's laid down and they start getting in touch with that part of themselves that never deserted them, that part that can't go away, and they start feeling safe there, and they start feeling like they can trust it and that they can surrender to it. That power of being able to surrender to that love ends up affecting all the rest of our lives and all areas of our lives. It's a scary thing, though. Love, real love. It's a scary thing at first. It's scary because we come at it with the idea that it can be removed from us. We don't even know we're carrying that. But it can't. It can't. Real love cannot. And once you have that real love towards yourself, this lifetime game is up. There's more living to be done, and there's more hard times coming, but the game is up. In other words, there's a whole new foundation having been replaced from the old foundation that was built on survival. It was built on fight, flight, or freeze. And there's another female scientist came up with a fourth, and it's called nurturance. But it's still based on outward expression of fix it. I think it takes courage. I think it takes courage to experience real love. But I found something out that is once you have it, it will not go away, no matter what. And I know I keep saying that, but it needs to be said. I know I need to hear things thousands of times, especially these kinds of things. It'll never go away. No matter how your weaknesses might rear up and claim your days, or claim your weeks, or claim your months, or claim your years. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It can't go away. All we have to do is turn right back toward it. It's there. It can't go anywhere. Everybody always wants to know the how. And the only thing I ever know what to say is just be open. Just be open and just be willing. I am open and I am willing. I walk around the house sometimes in between clients and with my hands up in the air in surrender. I surrender, I surrender, I surrender. We mentioning trauma earlier, not being loved enough causes trauma. That's traumatic. Coming into the physical is traumatic. And so the resistance to risking love, being loved, and loving heals trauma. When we surrender. There is a resistance to it because trauma makes love seem out of reach and not trustworthy. And so reclaiming our right to love heals that trauma. It heals it. I mean, think about it. What most people do is they try to heal trauma by being angry because they weren't loved enough. And so there's the cycle that I call the gerbil cage of hell. That's the gerbil cage of hell. When we accept that we weren't loved enough and that it created trauma, and that we are naturally afraid now to surrender to an unseen force that has a really bad reputation in a lot of ways, we're going to be resistant to that, and it's going to take courage to test the waters. But here's the deal. Love can withstand those tests. Test it. Test that love. Say to the divine, heal my heart. Say it. And what you'll get is love. You'll get love. You'll get love in the strangest ways. And you'll recognize it as love. And the hard, crusted heart will soften. Year by year, it'll soften. Here's the love. Here's the real love. Here's the authentic love. Here's the trustworthy love. Here's to the source that is revealing itself to us, and us having a direct experience with that love. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.